All right, we're on to video 3. This is our last video for this lesson. And the last thing we talked about was protection of the central nervous system, and we got through meninges and cerebrospinal fluid. The last is the blood-brain barrier. So a lot of times you can't have any internal changes to your central nervous system. It's really important that you always have the correct pH, the correct ion balance. Any even small change can really affect your central nervous system. So basically what happens is the capillaries in your brain and your spinal cord are the least permeable in the whole body. Not only that, but you also have your astrocytes that help to filter any blood trying to enter into a neuron. So these really not permeable capillaries, which means it's really hard to get things in and out of these capillaries. It's extremely difficult. This prevents any toxins or drugs from entering into the brain or spinal cord. So this is our blood-brain barrier. You can see here's your astrocytes that are going to be connected to your neurons. We also have microglia inside the central nervous system, which remember are your phagocytes that are going to help to eat any foreign invaders trying to enter into your central nervous system. But here is our capillary right here. And they have tight junctions, so nothing can really fit in between there. And really nothing is going to be able to get in or out of these capillaries because they are so non-permeable. So our last topic for this is going to be the spinal cord. So the spinal cord is really just a huge passageway bringing information to and from the brain. It also is a major reflex center. When you go to the doctor and they do that where they take the hammer and they hit your kneecap with it, that's a spinal reflex, meaning that that information goes to the spinal cord and back before even reaching the brain. When you touch something hot or you touch something painful or you step on a nail or something, that information travels to the spinal cord and back. That's how fast it is. It's protected by your vertebral column and it's cushioned by meninges. You also have 31 pairs of spinal nerves that extend out from the spinal cord that are going to serve the areas close by. So here is your spinal cord, and the spinal nerves are named after where they're located vertebral-wise. So you can see that you're going to have cervical spinal nerves, thoracic spinal nerves, and lumbar spinal nerves. So we're really going to get into all the nitty-gritty of the spinal cord in the next couple slides. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the gray matter of the spinal cord. I always kind of think it looks like a butterfly or moth-shaped. And you're going to have various horns coming out of this gray matter. So you're going to have a dorsal and ventral horn. Dorsal is going to mean it's going to be in the back side. So for example, here would be a dorsal horn in the back, okay? And then your ventral horns are going to be in the front up here. So that's going to be your ventral horn. And then your central canal is going to be this structure in the middle, and that's where your cerebrospinal fluid is going to run through. So next we're going to go and talk about roots. So you have a dorsal and ventral root, just like you have a dorsal and ventral horn. So the dorsal root is going to contain sensory neurons. So sensory impulses are going to enter into the spinal cord through this dorsal root. The ventral root is going to be anterior or in front of the dorsal root, and this is going to be all of your motor impulses leaving the spinal cord to enter into a spinal nerve. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So here is our horns. There's our dorsal horn. There's our ventral horn of our gray matter we've talked about. Over here is going to be our roots. So our dorsal root is going to be in the back. So there's a dorsal root, there's a dorsal root. Your ventral root is going to be in the front. So there's a ventral root and there's a ventral root. When they merge together here, that is a spinal nerve. So spinal nerves are going to contain both sensory and motor neurons. Your dorsal root is only going to contain sensory information or sensory neurons, and then the anterior root is going to contain, or your ventral root is going to contain all of your motor information leaving the spinal cord. So if something's going through the dorsal root, it's sensory entering in. Any motor information leaving is going to travel through that ventral root. Then we have our white matter of the spinal cord. Remember, white matter is going to be myelinated, so this is going to take information going up and down and side to side. So you have three regions of white matter in the spinal cord: dorsal, lateral, and ventral. Dorsal is going to contain ascending tracts, because remember, that's where all your sensory input is, so it's going to travel up to the brain. Lateral and ventral sections are going to be able to contain ascending and descending tracts and are going to be motor information. So once again, this is just kind of showing everything that we've talked about here. And what I wanted to kind of go through is, let's go through like a spinal reflex really quickly. So let's say over here is your foot and you step on a nail. Ouch. Sad face. You stepped on a nail. Okay? That sensory information is going to enter into the spinal nerve. It's going to go through the dorsal root and enter into the dorsal horn. From there, it's going to enter into these dorsal white matter, which is in the back, and it's going to contain ascending tracts going up to the brain. Okay? Now, while you're doing this, you're going to have a neuron here that's going to connect that sensory and motor information together. So that sensation is, oh my gosh, I stepped on a nail, it really hurts. Then you're going to have motor information here in that ventral root that's going to say, oh my gosh, we need to lift up our foot so we're not stepping on this nail anymore. So that motor information is going to leave the ventral horn, travel through the ventral root, so we're going in this direction, enter into the spinal nerve, travel all the way down to the foot, where then you lift up your foot. And now you're not stepping on the nail anymore. And that's a spinal reflex. It happens before that information is even sent to the brain. That's how fast it is. All right, so that is it. We've covered everything in your central nervous system. Now you are free to complete all of your assignments and get done with lesson 2. So thanks for watching.